Like I said at the end of my last video, part one of this, I don't really remember waking up all that much. That entire summer was pretty much a blur. However, I do remember some things, and one of the things that I remember vividly was the worst thing that I remember. I remember waking up one of the times. I might have been in the hospital for 3 or 4 days at this point, and I tried to rush getting back to my old self. So I tried to play some games on the PS4 that they let me bring into the hospital because it was a children's hospital. I was, whatever, 14 years old at this point. So they let me bring in my PS4 and I was playing some games on that. And I played Fortnite. Obviously, that was the biggest game at the time, that dog shit ass game. Okay. But I was trying to play that and I just didn't understand it, for lack of a better word. I don't really know how to explain that feeling. I just didn't grasp the concept of what the point of the game was. Not what the goal was, not how to play the game or like what the end goal is. Like I knew that you have to be the last person standing, blah 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 blah. But like I didn't understand why. And I guess that's the best way I can explain that. Um it was like confusing to me. And when I opened my inventory to try to read words or to try to read the names of the weapons or the ammo or anything like that, I didn't know what the words meant. And then I tried to read just like some magazine that was sitting next to the bed, and I also couldn't read that. I didn't understand what I was reading. I didn't understand the words. So I tried really hard, and I think that's where the problem started. But I told my mom, I was like, yo, I can't read this. Like, I don't understand what's happening. And she was like, what do you mean you don't understand? Like, what do you not understand? What are you not getting? And I was like, I don't understand the point of this. I don't understand why, like, what the words are. And I was getting frustrated that I couldn't understand it. And I was trying so hard to understand what the words meant in my head that I started to get pain in my head. So then I tried to relax, but it just kept climbing and climbing and climbing and just getting worse. So I didn't really know what was going on with that. I tried my best to calm down and just stop thinking about it to maybe see if it would go away. And then it really started to get bad. It was like someone was hitting your head with a sledgehammer or stomping on your head over and over again. And it started to hurt to the point where I started to break down and I started like to lose consciousness. Obviously, my mom got worried, so she hit the emergency button on like that little remote that controls the TV and calls the nurse for an emergency. To be honest, I'm surprised you can't just press a button and it makes a fucking toilet come to your bed. But that's not the point of this. Um, the nurses rushed in after we pressed the button. A couple doctors, a couple nurses, and they all came in and they were all talking. And this was like, it started to get very blurry right now. So I didn't really see anything. I started to lose consciousness. I started to zone out. Like, hearing things like audio and visuals started to become very blurry and muted. I remember being put, like, laid down, right? So how the hospital bed moves up and down. I remember being laid down almost flat because I was sitting up. So I remember them laying me down almost flat, and then they wheeled me into a CT scan room. And I don't remember like actually getting to the room. I just remember being wheeled out of my hospital room and then being wheeled into the CT room. I don't remember anything in between. And then once I got into the room, as they were picking me up to put me into the CT scan, I passed out. When I reawoke, the CT scan was done and I was back in my hospital room, back in my bed. I don't know how long I was sleeping for. But the doctor came in and he said it was trauma to the brain after experiencing something like brain surgery. Then I put too much stress on my brain by trying too hard to understand something. Or like The way I could probably explain it would be like, let's say you got a concussion and then you tried to do your math homework. You're probably going to get a headache from trying to understand that and trying so hard to do it. In this case, it was a little bit worse than that. It was like I couldn't understand anything and I was trying to force my brain into understanding it. And after maybe 72 hours, 3 days or so after my brain surgery, that's probably not a good thing to do. So anyway, he said that I experienced the worst pain known to man. So, I mean, I guess that's pretty cool. I get to say that. But yeah, the worst pain known to man is a lot. I don't remember having any more like major headaches after that, but a few days later was when I had to start walking, and I didn't like forget how to walk. Like this wasn't like that. I just wasn't walking for almost a week, so I was very weak. They had me start to walk, and I did not want to get out of that bed. The nurse was like, come on, you need to get up. My mom was like, you need to get up, and they were trying to make me get up. I did not want to move out of that bed. I finally got up, and I remember the first time I walked down the hallway with the nurse. The nurse was holding my arm, and I was like leaning on her. And I remember walking down the hallway, and every step I took was like pounding my head. But I knew that I needed to do that, or else it might have gotten to the point where, it's going to be hard to be using your legs. You can't just not use your legs for a week straight. Like, that's not, your body doesn't want that. So I had to do that and walk a couple times over the course of the next few days. And then when I finally got discharged from the hospital, maybe I was at the hospital for a week and a half, 2 weeks. I'm not sure. I don't remember that much. But once I did get discharged, I remember being wheeled into a wheelchair and wheeled out to my mom's car. And they gave me some sunglasses that were like ultra darkened. So like a lot of light didn't even go through them. Even though they were so beyond dark, even the little bit of light from the sun going through my glasses hurt like a motherfucker. Remember, like my tumor's on my occipital lobe, so it's everything that has to do with vision. So any light was like so ridiculously triggering to my eyes. So most of that car ride I just closed my eyes, but it was nice seeing everything that was outside. I did have a window. It wasn't like in a prison, but it felt weird being outside and seeing everything, right? After a week and a half of not doing that and unable to just walk and go places. So I was just laying in the car, pretty much like the seat all the way back as far as I could with my sunglasses on and several blankets because it was just so cold anywhere but the hospital room. I remember getting home and my old friend now, my current friend at the time, I remember him bringing me some candy and shit. He didn't see me in the hospital room. He didn't come during the whole thing. I don't know why, but I'm not like holding it against him or anything. Like, to each their own. I understand. Like, it's whatever. But he did bring me like some candy and some food, and he talked to me for a second. Obviously, I wasn't really in the mood to see people. But my like third or fourth time walking was also my first time walking outside. And I had this loop by my house, and it was like this industrial loop, so it was like cement. Like, I lived on a dirt road, right? There was two parts of the dirt road, one part at each end that connected to this cement loop where all the buildings were that like manufactured things. So like it was like this big loop that connected, and I walked all the way around that. It was maybe a mile, which obviously is not a lot, but it's a lot when you don't like walking during that moment. And I remember having the bandages still wrapped around my head because my scar was still bleeding a little bit here and there. I had stitches in it. So I remember walking around that loop, and it was like such a jarring, weird feeling because like every couple of seconds I didn't remember what was happening. And the pain was bearable at this point. It still sucked, but it was getting easier to walk. which, fuck, thank God, because that was a pain in the ass the first couple of times I had to. But I got a titanium plate put in my head, and the reason it's titanium is just so it doesn't go off in metal detectors and whatever. So that way when I'm at the airport and I walk through the metal detector to get on a fucking plane, it doesn't buzz and I get tackled by 6 guards. That's pretty much what it is. So it's titanium, so I don't have to deal with any of that. It's also titanium, so it's not magnetic. So if, for God's sake, I'm in a junkyard and a big ass magnet somehow happens to be over the top of my body, it won't yank the plate out of my fucking skull. So titanium plate, titanium screws, blah 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 blah. I can still feel it if I feel the back of my head. I have this wicked scar now, which I think looks pretty fucking cool. So there's plus sides to every downsides. But yeah, the full recovery process took a while. I think to go back to completely feeling normal and feeling like I could go back to doing everything I did before I even knew about my tumor, I think it took like 6 months. 6-7 months maybe, for me to be like, okay, I can start doing stuff again, you know? But to this day, I haven't had any problems. I haven't had any tunnel vision problems or anything like that, and it's been going good so far. However, they did leave a little piece of my tumor in my head because they didn't take it all out because they were worried that if they took it all out, it would make me lose my peripheral vision, which they didn't want to do. So they were like, okay, so we're going to take the chance that it does not grow again by leaving a little piece in there. So you're not going to lose your peripheral vision, but we're going to hope it doesn't grow, which explains my 12 plus MRIs, because I have to get an MRI every 6 months to a year just to make sure it's not growing at all. And the way it works is they took out the head of the tumor, which is basically like the little ball, and then the little pieces are considered tails of the tumor. The head controls the tails, and it makes the tails try to reach for the brainstem, because if they were to reach for the brainstem, they have control, and they're like strong enough that they can't be removed, otherwise causing death. So their goal is to reach the brainstem. By removing the head, the tail has nothing to tell it to grow, so it won't. Maybe. There's a chance that the tail can grow a head, which I don't ask me how that works because I didn't go into detail with all of that while talking to him. But that explains why I have to get an MRI every 6 months to a year. But as of right now, fully recovered, all good. So it's going great. And I just wanted to share my backstory a little bit more. So that's why I made these videos. But yeah, that's going to be it for today. It's been HopeScope. Appreciate it, guys. Bye.
Enemy recon plane. They got a spy in the sky. Only 4 lives left. One life left to live. Make it count.
Really can't do shit with that fucking guy. Got him.
That brings me back to life.
Circle of life, dickhead. They got destroyed their arms. I'll tell you what, team's eliminated. Take a breath and get back out there.